Explain the logic with the Raiders that you move on from Derek Carr and you bring in Jimmy G.
It's funny how much familiarity matters in life, right? And it permeates other industries for sure, but we see it all over the place in the NFL. And I'll use other examples to make the same point that I'll make about the Raiders, which is yesterday, the Falcons were one of the bigger spending teams in free agency. This is not the entire list, but amongst the players they added were David Onyemata, a defensive tackle from the New Orleans Saints, and Caden Ellis, a linebacker from the New Orleans Saints. Turns out the Falcons general manager, Terry Fontenot, came from New Orleans. Same with their defensive coordinator, Ryan Nielsen, who was hired like 6 weeks ago. Typically, you see teams pursue players they are familiar with, and sometimes with attacks as well. You might overpay for things that you see value in that other teams don't necessarily see, but it applies to Las Vegas. A consistent theme for Josh McDaniels since taking this job is making this New England West. And there have been other examples of trying to replicate the Patriots model that have not worked at all. But he hired a GM in Dave Ziegler, who was in the Patriots front office. His coaching staff is littered with coaches that came directly from New England, or both of his coordinators were at one point on the Patriots staff. And then the roster's got plenty of guys with New England ties. And Jimmy G entered the league with the Patriots, as we all know, but did it again with Jacoby Myers, who they just signed to a 3-year deal worth $11 million per season. It's economically a little bit more manageable to have this current contract for Jimmy G than Derek Carr's deal. It's about a $30-ish million payday for Jimmy G, maybe more like 27, 28, depending on how many incentives he hits, as opposed to Derek Carr, which was closer to $40 million. But it's a familiarity thing more than anything. He knows Jimmy G. He knows the way he operates, the kind of player he is. And I think that Josh McDaniels has more confidence that there will be harmony because, well, it wasn't perfect last year for Derek Carr. I don't look at last season up until he got benched as an abject failure either. I think the offense was, for the most part, okay. They just couldn't close on defense, and they kept finding crazy ways to lose in some incredibly memorable fashion.